And I'm talking snot face, tears on my face. I have carpet marks in my forehead and on my knees and my elbows because I was down on my face and then I was up and worshiping, then I'd bow down again. And I thought I'd been there for a couple hours, and it was 20 some odd minutes.
So now that we're talking about experimenting at home, getting those chord shapes interesting, changing it up a little bit, can you talk about worshiping at home, worshiping alone? Maybe what is your routine for that, and how would you recommend people start getting into the habit of worshiping God with no one else watching?
It's that set aside time, and to quote your father, I was going to say to rip off, but I'm not ripping off because I'm giving credit. In Pastor Alan DiDio's, your father's first series on prayer, Teach My Hands to War, he talks about, I believe it was in Africa. So they're walking through Africa, and the tribespeople would go through the grass and find a place away to pray. And they know if they hadn't been doing it when the grass began to grow over their path, because everybody would kind of go to their own space every day. And it starts with set aside time. That's what holy means: set aside, set apart.
Yeah.
Different. Be holy for I am holy. Israel, you're gonna look different, you're gonna act different, you're gonna eat different, you're gonna talk differently. You're gonna use correct grammar. Because I'm holy, because I'm set apart, I'm different from, so there was to be that example. So to me, it's with a set aside time. My set aside time is nighttime. My wife goes to bed, my daughter's in bed, and there's nobody's gonna call me, nobody's gonna text me. So some people, it works for them to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm a night owl, I'm a musician. It's easier for me to do it at the other end. It's still night, so in the quiet hours, nothing's happening. And that's where I meet the Lord. And I get in the Word, it read aloud.
Yeah.
It's another thing your father's talked about. Faith comes by hearing.
Yeah.
So if we're just reading it like it's a book and not speaking it to ourselves and hearing ourselves speak what we're saying, it's not as effective.
Right.
It's not as effective. And to tie that in with the music, I've sat there with my Bible right there on my keyboard or on my desk, in my studio desk next to my keyboard, and as I read, I'll read something and figure out, how does that sound? And that will push you to experimentation.
Wow.
Because you'll know some scriptures don't sound like 64:15.
Yeah.
They just don't. And I've done this, I've been actually working on Psalm 91, recreating it musically. And I've only gotten a third of the way through the chapter.
Wow.
Because I've hit a spot where it's gonna have to completely change. So the rhythm has to change, the time signature, it's not gonna be 4/4. The whole thing has to change, because when you get into that, the arrow that flies by day and the terror that destroys it at night, it will not come near you and will not come near your tent. That ain't 4, to me, that's not 4/4. It's not he who dwells in the shelter will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. So that to me, getting that set aside time with your instrument, whatever it is you play, flute, oboe, guitar, bass, drums. Obviously drummers, electric drums help if you're gonna practice late at night. Or to have a soundproof garage. Soundproof, drummers, you can do that. You can do that. Take one of your, take the car out, leave your wife's car in, hopefully you have a 2-car garage, and soundproof an area so you can practice your drums, because that's biblical, the sounding, the crashing cymbals. But it has to be the same time. That's what being disciplined is, with exercise, with eating, and with what God has called us to do for the kingdom. Disciplined is to be consistent and do this all the time, every day.
Yeah, and it's important. Get that time, set a time to go alone, but don't think you have to do it for at least an hour, because then you're going to be focusing on the clock instead of actually worshiping. You're going to be like, all right, I got 30 minutes left. 29, 28. So don't necessarily set a time limit. Go until you think, should I stop now maybe?
Yeah.
Or until you get that feeling like, I've done something.
It's not quality. It's not quantity. It's quality.
Yeah.
So I don't put a time limit on it, because I read through Revelation before the year was up, before 2019 was up, and there was one day, and I went and I put on and it was chapter where John is in the throne room. I think it's chapter 4, chapter 5. And it says, when the congregation was there and they're singing. And I went and put on "To Him Who Sits on the Throne." Now it's an old chorus. To Him who sits on the throne, be blessing and glory and honor and power.
Yeah.
I turn on the recording, the classic recording on YouTube, and it's like 3.5 minutes long. And I sat there. I thought I was there for 3 hours.
Wow.
And it was 22 minutes that I was reading and praising.
Yeah.
And it was just, I'm talking snot face, tears on my face. I have carpet marks in my forehead and on my knees and my elbows because I was down on my face and then I was up and worshiping, and then I'd bow down again. And I thought I'd been there for a couple hours, and it was 20 some odd minutes. And I've been there other times where I just read one paragraph and I felt like I was only sitting there for 5 minutes and an hour and a half went by.
Yeah.
So I don't set a time limit, and I don't, I'm gonna read this whole book or this whole chapter or this. I'm gonna read until the Holy Spirit speaks.
Yeah.
And after I read, then I pray. And my prayer is not me talking. My prayer is I first address the Lord as the King of the universe.
Yeah.
And then I sit in silence and to listen. To listen, because often our prayers are us. It's calling. Hey, Evan, how you doing? Blah 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 blah. I need this. 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 I thank you. I love you. Hey man, so I hope you're doing well. Okay, I'll talk to you. Bye.
Yeah.
That's not a conversation. You didn't get a chance, and that's our prayers most of the time.
Yeah.
No time for him to speak. No time.
So to give you a look at what this can be, Dr. Lester Summerall worked with Smith Wigglesworth. If you don't know who these people are, that's okay. I'll leave some links in the description.
Need to know.
Yeah, go check them out. Praise and worship leaders, you can't lead people where you haven't been, so they give a lot of valuable instruction. But anyway, Dr. Lester Summerall would go over to England where Smith Wigglesworth was. And Smith Wigglesworth, it'd be time for prayer after breakfast in the morning. And so Dr. Lester Summerall would go with Smith Wigglesworth and they'd read in the Bible for 30 minutes. And then they'd go to praying for 30 minutes. And then they'd go to read the Bible for 30 minutes, and then go praying for 30 minutes. And they do that over and over and over again until lunch, and then they go back into it again. Read the Bible for 30 minutes, and then praying for 30 minutes. Smith Wigglesworth, the first thing he did every day was dance before the Lord. As soon as his feet touched the bed, he didn't talk to anybody else. He didn't say, "Good morning, how are you?" Somebody wakes him up. He doesn't talk to him at all. The first person he would talk to, or not necessarily a person, but the first one he would talk to is God. So you can't lead others where you haven't been. I think that's the kind of the theme for this channel, but it's so true. So get that time in prayer, get that dedicated time, and that's very important.
That's where the power is.
Yeah,
that's where the power is.
Very good.
Dude, that was good, baby. That was good right there.
Yeah.
Shoot. Somebody get me an organ. We're gonna have an offertory right here.